I'm not going to mention them. They're all over here in Sunnyvale and et cetera, and in San Francisco, because how do you know that that's going to happen? You know, a little story, right? I mean, I move billions of dollars, in fact, sometimes trillions. And, you know, Mrs. Chan in New York, in Hong Kong, who's missing 7 Hong Kong dollars from her account, will call the call center 10 times. Where's my $7? Because of some error. And, you know, that's not an unusual scenario. You go over, remember when this other bank of blah, I'm not going to mention the names, decided we were going to levy a $5, just $5, man, a month on your accounts, on your checking accounts. It was like people were mad. They were angry. They backed out. That's how important money is, and that's how important, you know, the trust that's given to the banks is also, there's a huge demand on that trust. All right, so what is scale? Scale, I think about. What do you really think about? This was a Debbie slide, actually. Forced me really, really hard to go think of what I want. Well, I want transactions. But, you know, when you swipe your credit card, the response time required is 500 milliseconds. Well, I'm not interested in that. My friends over here at Visa, I see my friend here from Visa, 500 milliseconds. You're doing good. In fact, that's kind of like the standard. But what we're interested in is microseconds and nanoseconds. Joyent, which is over here, which basically talks about processor speed, that's what I'm interested in. Why am I interested in processor speed? One phrase, high-frequency trading. Okay, it's not a secret that there are many trading companies right now worldwide that all live in one square block in New Jersey. And the reason is it's right by the data center of the major exchanges. Wherever the, you know, the German Bourse is, the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, whatever, you will go and locate your data center, and it's not just Citibank, it's every bank and every trading house. You're going to be there because you want to shave off 1 microsecond. Because you're competing machine to machine. Talk about singularity. Machine to machine. You got to make, like, you know, a nickel more, 1 cent more, whatever. That's what I'm interested in. I'm always interested in people who have either algorithmic or machine or fabric or network ways to do high-speed transactions. Accounts. I wanted to tell you what I think about accounts. Our dear friends over across the street in Menlo Park, they just moved to the old Sun facility. They have 900 million accounts. And I think they said they have like 2 or, you know, like some trillion of photographs. And I said, like, that's really cool. We only have 250 million accounts at Citi. And that, in just counting my accounts, because I'm only 1/2 of the bank, that represents my half of 12.5 trillion of real money. So if you, again, you know, referring back to the woman who says, where's my 750 Hong Kong dollars? We have to treat that with the same amount of respect. I don't think anyone here, Citibank customer, Wells Fargo, any bank customer, would appreciate it if suddenly one day you open your account, or a Visa customer, and their statement says, huh? What is this $10 here, you know, which you can't explain. You have to explain every single one, small customer, large customer, medium customer. You cannot fail. Data size. I talked to some people yesterday, they were talking to me. Somebody had talked to me about gigabytes. And I said, gigabytes? Isn't that, you know, isn't that the thing on those little flash drives? I said, no, I'm not interested, you know. And terabytes, not even. Our data size is petabytes, okay? That's what we deal with. And we approach the exabyte range. Very few companies in the planet approach the exabyte range. I don't even know how many zeros an exabyte is. Mitch, probably from Hummer Windblad here, will tell me what an exabyte truly is because he's worked with data a long time, but I have no clue what that is. Data, security, risk, and fraud. Daily basis, we repel and defeat over 40,000 attacks every day. It's like, okay, it's another day in the park. You never hear about the 40,000 things we repel, we defeat, but guess what? We make one mistake, you Google it, it's in the Wall Street Journal. And to us, the #1 reason to live is not to be in the front page of the Wall Street Journal for the wrong reason. Network scope. Our network operations is in 100 countries with 12 regional data centers, massive sizes. Some people were talking to me about networks. Well, how do you work in a big network? Oh, and by the way, our network is private. Because we don't do, one of the things I said, we don't do public clouds. Everything's private. Oh, and the bad news, then the worst part about being a bank is regulatory matters. In the US, I can give you a litany of federal and state agencies, Federal Reserve Bank, the Office of the Controller of Currency, the FDIC, the Consumer Product Safety, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. You multiply that by over 100 countries, and we have to live with that every day. And they call us every day. Things I want to go and advise the companies here. Another Debbie slide forced me to really hard to think about this. The first thing, which is probably not obvious to a lot of people here, everybody here went over and pitched, this is what my technology does, yada, yada, yada. Well, frankly, the first question is, what's your business model? Your business model has to be as good and as resilient as your software or service. Why? I'm not going to buy your software, nor any logical human being will not buy your software if you're not going to survive, or your service. Particularly for a bank. Just to become a software vendor to a bank will take you 6 months, maybe 9 months. My friend from Visa here is going, yeah, at least. And then we're going to waste 9 months on you just to find out at the end of that thing, oh, and by the way, we got about $250 left in the bank. 100. We're not going to buy it. You have to be able to survive. Second thing, banks are big business, as David alluded to. My budget, it's not my budget actually, it's the Citibank budget. So I just want to go and clarify that for the sake of the truth. It's a big budget. It's like you take there are countries that are like, our budget's really bigger than the GDP of several countries combined, small countries, some semi-large countries. It's really a big number. To give you a sense, we have 250,000 employees, give or take, a few, and we have 65,000 people in IT. Thank God I'm not the CIO, because that is the hardest job in the planet. I'm only the CTO, which means I think about the future. And operational details the difficult part of running the bank is left with some of the best CIOs I've ever met in the business. Performance, performance, performance. Let me tell you, I'll tell you a story. I was in Japan when the tsunami happened, and there was a Japanese bank, because of the tsunami, their ATM shut down for 5 days. You're trying to run away from the tsunami. You run out of gas. You go to the gas station, doesn't take the ATM. You go try to get cash, ain't there. Guess what? You're leaving that bank. And that happened. It's a true story. That's 5 days. We can't afford 1 day. When was the last time you went to an ATM, usually in a restaurant, where it says, sorry, I'm out of cash, and how pissed off you were? And you go like, oh, I got to walk 2 blocks. To us, everything is about performance. Now, picture yourself as a large soft drink company. and you can't roll up your collections from the street all the way to Treasury, you kind of get mad also. We have to make sure that systems constantly perform at all levels. Application, layer 1 to layer 7, basically, has to perform. No question. Reliability, there's nothing less than 100% reliability. That's, again, a scale that a lot of, here in Silicon Valley, it's 5 nines. You won't accept 5 nines from your bank. Consumers won't do that. And I can tell you, institutional clients will not accept 5 nines. You immediately get a call from the treasurer or the CFO when you're like, you miss a transfer. And that goes for every bank. You know, you expect your bank to be able to perform. My wish list, the elimination of all MIFs. MIF, sorry, I have nothing against MILF. That was actually a joke she came up with. MIF is manually initiated funds transfer, otherwise known as checks. You know, it's a really, really, really difficult problem. Checks are the biggest source of fraud globally. You know, any country that has checks, and you know, it's not just coming up with a solution. Hey, let me give you a version of pay your bill right now. It doesn't work. It's a cultural challenge. There are countries, they like signing checks for whatever reason. Go to Taiwan and they go, there's this one guy sitting day in and day out. Oh yeah, just bring the pile of checks over here. They seem to enjoy it. I'm going like, dude, just press a button. Bam, done. No. Hate it. Big source. That was the top of my wish list. Second thing, anything with security or risk. Fraud, risk, security. You have something smart, tell me about it. Always interested. I may not buy it. You know, the days of when we were going and, okay. See, she's always on my case. Okay, security. Security, you know, attacks are getting sophisticated. Think Stuxnet, think Aurora. You know, performance, we already talked about that, but I need either an algorithmic or hardware improvement. Mobile payments. I want geofencing. I want new services linked to payments. Because I don't believe payments is viable, has a long-term opportunity. I really don't want to talk about terabytes, by the way. Tell me how you're going to analyze petabytes of data. Monitoring of large distributed data centers. AML, anti-money laundering. We're under a consent decree right now. We have to improve our anti-money laundering processes, and it's a public thing. We're on our way to do that. These were based on findings in 2010. KYC, know your customer. You know, interesting enough, 900,000 customers in Facebook. How many of those are truly authentic? We have 250 million accounts. All of them have been vetted, and we know every single one of them, without exception. And I like private clouds. If you have a public cloud, don't talk to us, because we're not interested in anything, public cloud, anything. With that, any questions? You have bank-related matters, you can send me my bank address, antonio.fbenjamin@citi, LinkedIn, Antonio Benjamin. There's some guy who's an agronomist, that's not me, at LinkedIn. And my private email is yobi@acm.org. If you mention Debbie's name, you get a discount.
Yobi. Do you know what MILF stands for?
No.
Man, I love football.
Oh, all right. Is that what it meant?
Actually, it stands for Make It Last Forever, and that was a wonderful PowerPoint. We wish it could last forever.